Welcome back to another edition of Out Today and What I Missed for March 14th, 2024. This week I have another 30 albums I'm covering, with 8 coming out today as you're watching this, and all the rest are stuff that I've missed along the way, all the way from January up to last week. So there's no time to dilly-dally, let's just get into it. First up, we have Desiderium with Keys to the Palace. This is the 5th album from a one-man band whose name is Alex Haddad, who you might know as the current guitarist of the band Atheist, who's also been in Archaic, and of course Nulling Roots. All 3 of those bands I thoroughly enjoy, so I was very curious as this was my first foray into Desiderium, and I love what I'm hearing. This is what I love so much about progressive death metal, melodic death metal, and so much genre bending that's going on here. Like, if you love a band that could sound like Tomarum, Nea Obscurus, and an Abstract Illusion, you're gonna find something to love about this band. It goes all over the place, yet it all makes sense the more that you listen to it. The production is top-notch, the musicianship is just out of this world, and the songwriting goes so many different places. And again, the more you listen, it will all make sense. And if that's something you're looking for, check out the brand new album from Desiderium. Now we got Kerberos with Apostle to the Malevolent. Now this is some pretty cool symphonic and progressive death metal from Switzerland. This is a sophomore album from this band, and again the first time I'm hearing of them, but I am loving what I'm hearing. It has all the elements of symphonic death metal that I love. It has so many great elements of progressive death metal that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a sound like this, but it works together so perfectly. It's like if you mix Septic Flesh, Edge of Sanity, and yeah, even Haken into one band. As odd as that sounds on paper, it works so well in execution. The musicianship is spellbinding, the vocals are incredible in both the screamed and the clean forms, and the songwriting takes so many twists and turns. I'm still not sure if I've caught everything at this point, but it just gives me all the more reason to go back and listen to it and see if I can catch everything. I love what's going on here, and if you want a refreshing take on the symphonic and progressive death metal genres, check this one out. Up now we got Mantra with Titans. Another discovery this week. There's so many bands I'm discovering and it's just so cool to see. And this time this is a Croatian band that really mixes the best of folk metal, hard rock, heavy metal, and sometimes even pop rock, all fused together into this awesome sound. This is a band that is not afraid to make music that they want to make, but still make it as catchy as possible. This is some of the most digestible and easygoing folk metal I've heard in a very long time, and I feel like it'd be kind of a perfect gateway album for anyone that's not really even familiar with metal and they want to be able to hear what folk metal could all be about. The production is crystal clear, and again, that songwriting is just so catchy. I have so much stuff to catch up on now with 7 previous albums. This is the band's 8th album, but I can't wait to check out the rest. Titans is an excellent display of making folk metal for everyone, so go ahead, jump on board now. Up now is Night with Cult of the Serpent Sun. This is the 3rd album from the San Francisco band that is really expanding upon their sound that they started off with, but as much diversity is starting to show through the band, they never lose sight of who they are. The blackened heavy metal side of the band is far from gone here, and it's still here in strides, but you can hear more elements of cult rock, doom metal, and the occasional hard rock elements that really help the band stand out. The production is the best that they've easily done to date, and it still feels like the songwriting is just keep getting better and better. A little more diverse, but hey, I think that's a good thing. This is the kind of album that they may not take a hold of you the second that you listen to it, but by the end you'll have succumbed to everything that the band has to offer. And it just might be the kind of right evil album that is just digestible enough for you to be able to listen to, whether you listen to things on the more mainstream side or the more evil side. So go ahead and give Night a chance if you never have before. I think he'll be won over. Up now we have Wake with The Return of Magic. And wouldn't you know it, it's the return of Wake after 14 years. And it's so great to see the band back, and I can actually cover one of their albums since I've actually started doing this. Wake is the kind of band that puts out pure quality over quantity all day long. And this is truly something special with their style of sludge, doom, and experimental all rolled into one. They've been doing this since 1999, but somehow they always seem to be able to expand their sound and make it just in the same way that they don't make the same album twice, and they also still find a way to just keep getting better and better. This may go under the radar for some people because I know, like me, until I got this promo, I didn't even know the band was back, but you really should check them out if you are into the sludgy, doomy, and experimental side of metal. This is going to be one of the finest albums of the genre in 2025. I'm not sure what could possibly top that in this genre. It's been a long wait, but The Return of Magic is easily the best album Wake has done. Up now we have Psalm with Let the Light In what I can only describe as doom pop, which seems so counterintuitive. I swear it all makes sense. You combine doom metal and you combine that with the best of dream pop, shoegaze, and alternative rock, and you create one of the most ethereal albums of 2025. It gets heavy in the right spots without the vocals getting in the way of any screams or growls. Imagine if you wanted a band like Astronoid to be slower and at lower register vocally. You'll have Psalm. And now that I think about it, that would be an incredible tour to see. Every time I put this album on, I feel better. It's cathartic, and it's just what I need on a lonely night. It might be exactly what you need as well, so make sure to give this one a shot if you're interested. Up now we have the brand new solo album from Steven Wilson with The Overview. Steven Wilson has been making music for over 35 years now in different formations. Porcupine Tree, No Man, Storm Corrosion, Of Love and Emotion. If you remember that, you are a friend of mine. But now Steven Wilson is back, kind of doing some more progressive rock sounds, back in his solo work with The Overview. This is 2 tracks. It's over 40 minutes long. The first track is over 18 minutes long. The second one's over 23 minutes long. That first track, Objects Outlive Us, is something more that feels like the middle era of Porcupine Tree, yet it also kind of feels like kind of the beginning era of the Steven Wilson solo work. It's long, it's proggy, it feels like it drifts into space, it also gets quite dark, and it feels right before it got into the poppier moments of both his solo work and Porcupine Tree stuff like Lightbulb Sun and Stupid Dream. And you mix that with a lot of 70s and 80s synths going on here. Like, I hear a lot of Tangerine Dream synths going on here. I wonder if he was also inspired by that new Blood Incantation. I'm sure he was working on this before he heard that, but regardless, I really enjoy what the first track is doing. The title track, The Overview, feels more of what he was doing with albums like Cannot Erase, and it really does just have like this poppy meets electronic thing going on. Like, it feels like the Beatles meets Spock's Beard meets the poppier era of Porcupine Tree. The song melds together, but it eventually fades away into eternity. But if you really like the kind of latter day Steven Wilson solo stuff, that's what this song is. It's neither good or a bad thing. It's just kind of jarring that both sides of this album kind of show off both styles of Steven Wilson's solo work, so it's not really the most cohesive thing, but if you enjoy both sides, I think you're really going to enjoy this album. And I will say, I probably enjoy this album more than I have basically anything he's done in the last 10 years, including the last Porcupine Tree album. I'm sure I'll get hated for that one, but it feels nice to know that Steven Wilson can explore all of his solo work, and it still feels authentic all of this time. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here, but right now, I'd say he's making his best music in a decade, and that just makes me happy. Up now is a band name that I really hope that I get right, Tiktaalik with Gods of Pangea. This is the debut album of Charlie Griffiths, of Haken's full-on band. He did make a solo album last year, the year before, I'm kind of forgetting when it is now, but this album is the first one under this moniker, and it's an excel display of what progressive metal can sound like, with the high ends of what prog metal used to be, and also mixing it with some of the best in 80s and 90s thrash metal of all things, and also combining some of the heavier ends of progressive death metal as well, and a few other nuances that you just might not expect. His solo album was a sight to behold, especially with what he was doing in the progressive death metal, progressive metal, and other genres, but I'm glad to see that this has a proper moniker now, and I really think the sky is the limit going forward. I mean, this album is basically about the beginning of the world, so there's so much of the world to be able to explore with this band. The production is perfect, the songs are just so catchy no matter how heavy, proggy, thrashy, genre-bending it gets. And when you feature moments from singers like Textures, Between the Buried and Me, and Protest the Hero, this is going to be quite a counterbalance of an album. Whether you like prog metal, thrash metal, heavy metal, it doesn't matter. If you like any of that, I think you're going to find something to really appreciate about this, so go ahead and pick this one up now. And finally, we end things with Warbringer, with Wrath and Ruin. This is the 7th album from Warbringer, and I can't believe they've already had 7 albums now. I still remember when they first came out, and I thought that they were just like the future of 21st century thrash metal, and I still find that to be the case to this day. They still have that classic Warbringer sound, that very heavy and aggressive thrash metal side, and of course, in the last few albums, you start to notice that you kind of get near black metal territories, which I really, truly appreciate as well. They are are able to write such catchy riffs, and it also has some of the most diabolical lyrics over top. And this album is no exception to that. This really does feel like the soundtrack to the end of the world, and once you know it, in 2025, it feels closer to that than ever before. If that really does happen, hey, at least Warbringer wrote a really cool thrash soundtrack to it all. And as long as we're still here, I can't wait to see what Warbringer does next, and it is probably going to be one of, if not the thrash album of 2025. And now for everything that I missed, starting off with the band Adamantis with Reforged. This is the first time I've heard of this band, and I wish I would have heard them on their debut album, because this sophomore album from this Massachusetts power metal band is some of the most strong and sophisticated power metal I've heard in quite some time. They don't go to the extreme ends of the genre, they aren't trying to be a gimmick, especially something that's memed to death like some higher end power metal bands that you know that I'm talking about. This is authentic power metal through and through. The production is perfect for this style, giving me that really early to mid 2000s power metal vibe, which I truly enjoy. The songwriting is perfect for what they're trying to accomplish, and the musicianship is top notch on all fronts. This is my kind of power metal, and it's so great to see this making a real resurgence in 2025, where people want to make power metal again, and they're not afraid to make it. I need more of this, and I can't wait to see what they do next. Coming up next is another band and an album that I deeply apologize for getting the name wrong. Despite my efforts, I am only really good at English. I'm so sorry. But this is Ande with Die Schmering van Woelten. This is one I've been meaning to cover for weeks now. In fact, going all the way back to January. But I always seem to miss it, and I finally made an effort to make sure that I cover it this week because it deserves your attention. This is a one-man Belgian band that is a pure sight to behold. Pure, unadulterated, atmospheric black metal through and through. It's an album of introspection of the world around us, how we live it, and what might happen next. Mix in with that some melancholic and endearing black metal, and you have an album that is worthy of your ears. As long as you dig the style of atmospheric black metal, that is. The production value is awesome for this, and you can't always say that about atmospheric black metal, and everything that this man known as Jim does on this record is so cool to see. If you are in need of some more atmospheric black metal in your life, or if you want an introduction into what this genre is all about, do not overlook Ande. It's incredible work. Up now we have the self-titled debut album from Border Hills. This is an Italian progressive rock band that is one of the darkest progressive rock bands that I've heard in quite a bit of time. Like, if you mix Pink Floyd, Porcupine Tree, and Goblin, you have Border Hills. Like, this album is so dark with its imagery. Like, all you have to do is look at the album cover, and I think you have a pretty good idea of what this is all about. It's horror progressive rock, and I think that's such a cool thing to see. And I don't think enough rock bands do that in 2025. I really dig the production style on here. The songwriting is so cool and just the right amount of catchy for this style. My words can only say so much for this one. I think you just need to give this one a proper shot, and I think it's going to be a very dark, shining progressive rock album in 2025. Now we have Claymorian with Eternal Curse. This is a very welcome surprise to my ears. A Siberian blend of power metal, heavy metal, and the occasional doom. It's a winning combination for me, and it begs for repeat listens, and wouldn't you know it, I've done that. And wouldn't you know it, I hear a lot of Adamantis in this band, who I just covered a few albums ago. That is so weird that I covered them on the same list without even trying. Mix in some early day Virgin Steel, some Doro type vocals, and the occasional Candle Mass riff, which I was not expecting, and you have me sold. I love the production on this one, just really makes everything fit together. This is how you make classic metal mixed in with 21st century power metal, and again, a bit of doom to create something very magical. If this sounds good to you, you want to check this one out now. Up now we have Crown of Madness with Memories Fragmented. Have you ever thought a brutally extreme death metal album could make you cry? This one has made me very, very close to tearing up. This debut album from this BC duo, they have written some of the most emotionally driven death metal I've heard in this style ever. It feels like the mind of someone struggling through life mentally, physically, and being crushed by the weight of the world and their own mental illnesses. With a production style that is just made for this style, it brings brings the instrumentation and especially the vocal delivery and makes them absolutely devastating. Seriously, how can a band that channels so much Ulcerit, Bluntas Nord, and Portal make you feel so sad that you just want to sit down in the corner of your room and bawl your eyes out? This couldn't fit more of my state of mind if I tried, and trust me, this week is no exception to that rule. This is an album that will hurt, and if you don't feel it in the music, just pay attention to the vocals and look up the lyrics if you can't understand them, and you'll start to understand. This one is a devastator, and it will devastate your mental state. Sometimes that's exactly what you need though, and I'm so glad that Crown of Madness has tackled all of this. If you dare, pick this one up. Now we have Druma with Swords of Our Time. Again, Germany has put out some of the best albums of 2025 so far, and Druma is no exception here. The sophomore album from this post-black band brings in a refreshing take on black and sludge metal by adding the post-black elements to all of it and just making it sludgy enough as well. I just love the raw, aggressive feels behind this, and it just hits at the right times. It's not a constant barrage of sound, which can happen in any of the genres. It's dynamic, it comes in waves, which is honestly how this should be done. It's all about dynamics. It's also very dark and very bleak, which matches the current state of the world. It's moody, dark, and again, those dynamics. What else could you possibly want in this kind of genre? If you dig your black metal on the posty side, or if you want your post metal and sludge with just enough blackened elements, check out Druma. Now we have Erosis with the Sunken Lands. Yes, yes, and more yes. Epic folk metal with a blackened twist is exactly something I've been craving this year. Something that just has excelled production, mesmerizing songwriting, and the talent everyone has in this band is staggering. They are all on fire on this album, and it never lets up that momentum. It does, oh, I guess it does in a little bit of time, but really, you know what I'm talking about here. Imagine if Keep of Calcium made a full-on folk metal album in the vein of like Winter Sun or Ensiferum without ever losing that blackened side of Keep of Calcium, and you have Erosis. This thing is insane, and it only gets better the more that you listen to it. Seriously, go check this one out. Now we have Heaven's Rain with Northern Lights. The debut album from this UK band is such a captivating display of past and present rock that the world kind of needs right now. It hits the classic rock and AOR sound to an absolute T, all while having these moments of kind of more modern hard rock that isn't necessarily what you would hear on modern rock radio, but when you hear it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Every song is filled with soaring vocals, catchy hooks, and incredible solos. That's exactly what you want in this style, and it's great to see a new band capturing all of this and keeping it in the spirit of those classic sounds live, but just through a brand new filter. If you want that mix of old and new rock and make it in perfect harmony, you need to check out Heaven's Rain. Next up is Hellknife with Flames of Damnation, and simply put, this is the best death metal crust punk album that we're going to get in 2025. If I'm proven wrong, awesome, but I can't imagine anything topping this German band's fourth album in this particular style. The production is exactly what it needs to be. The songs are short, simple, and pulverizing. 10 songs, 33 minutes, not a second longer needs to be added, not 1 second needs to be taken away. This is everything that I love about both genres all rolled into one, and this is seriously going to be just one of the best albums of the year, not just in the death metal, DB, crust punk era. If you love these genres, check out Hellknife now. Up now we have How to Disappear with As the Sun Could Leave Us. This is a debut album from a Mexican post-black band, and it just combines the best of shoegaze, black gaze, post-black, and cinematics to create an album experience that deserves to be heard. The production is a little more on the rough side of things, like I really think the mix could be a little better when it gets heavier. It's hard to layer these things sometimes, but I think that also kind of adds to the charm of the overall experience. The black metal elements are raw and filled with so much emotion, especially when it's added with the post-rock and shoegaze elements of their sound. It's almost 40 minutes long, and it's quite the trip from beginning to end, but it's a rewarding one at the same time. It hits levels of emotion that you don't expect at all through a band that is making the music that they just want to make. It gets better on every listen, and you'll get used to the sound, but if this sounds like it's your thing, you really should give this a proper shot. I'm excited to see where they go from here. Up next is another time that I need to apologize for my Swedish, as it is terrible despite having a Swedish last name. This is the band Istop with Solter Sorta. It's been quite a while since I've covered something that feels like tried and true mellow black, and I'm glad someone's doing it here with the Swedish band's fourth album. A lot has happened in the world since their last album in 2019, but thankfully the band has not lost sight of their vision of making cold, dark, melodic black metal. It hits in all the right spots, especially that classic 90s third wave black metal sound, and it matches in the production style. It really truly feels like it came out in 1998. The clean vocals may come as a shock to you, but also if you listen to this kind of black metal, they shouldn't come as a surprise at all. But seriously, if you love Dissection, Nagelfar, Tholkandra, and Wintersun, you're gonna find something to love about Istop. You really need to give this one a shot if you are searching for mellow black like I am. Now we got Lost Sanctuary with Harbinger of Chaos. And wouldn't you know it, another sophomore album here coming from Germany. Here with Lost Sanctuary, a band that perfectly fuses power metal and thrash metal together through a very melodic filter to create some of the catchiest music that I've heard in this style. The songs hit so hard, the solos are fantastic, and the vocal delivery just slays. It feels like this grand mix of so much melody and harmony. Like, I hear as much Yngwie Malmsteen and Rainbow as I do bands like Sirius Black and Pagan's Mind. Well, without all the proggy keyboard stuff anyways. This is more than worth your time if it sounds intriguing to you at all. I can't imagine if you're looking for some kind of melodic power thrash that you'll be disappointed. Here we have Magistry with the new Aeon. I'm so glad to see the resurgence of power metal, symphonic metal, and the likes in 2025. I was getting so sick of bands abandoning the genre for whatever reason, but this sophomore album from this Brazilian band gives me hope for the symphonic metal genre. Where other bands are leaving it for more mainstream metal, more electronic music, Magistry is doubling down on their sound and creating some of the most captivating and alluring symphonic metal that fans of early day Epica, Serenia, and Stream of Passion are sure to love. If you want that pure, authentic power metal and symphonic elements here, you have it here with New Aeon by Magistry. Seriously, I can't say enough good stuff here. Pick it up for yourself and you'll see what I mean. Now we have Mary Mortum with Phantoms of the Fall. 6 albums into this one-woman band's career, and it's my first foray into what she's done so far. It is some of the most intense music I've heard like this year. It is a blend of funeral doom, sludge, post-metal, and black metal, and it just feels off-kilter enough and very unsettling. But it's also very soothing at the same time. It feels like it shouldn't make sense, but when you listen to it, it makes all the sense in the world. The production is raw yet very clear, making every instrument stand out, but it does blend together so well. The vocal delivery is beyond haunting, and the atmosphere is off the charts in this delivery. This is quite the eerie and dark album that is well worth your time if you're looking for something like this. I keep going back to it, and honestly, I think you might as well. Now we have some Dutch melodeath here with Nephilim with Circuition. Yeah, this Dutch melodeath band is just blowing me in a way, and I think it might for well as you too. Whether it goes full guns blazing or it's more stripped down and melodic, this band has created a phenomenal display of melodeath that is just filled with as much darkness as it does emotional power. It feels like a grand mix of Omnium Gatherum, Wolfheart, and Belcore. This is a band that has instantly won me over and is easily one of the best melodeath albums of 2025 so far. The songwriting is everything you want it to be, and produced in that kind of Omnium Gatherum style where everything is blended together, but it's so easy to pick out when you're trying to find like a vocal line or instrumentation. You can find it easily. It just keeps getting better on every subsequent listen, and if you love melodeath, there's no excuse. You have to check this one out. Now we have Navain with Queen of Phantoms. Manticora, Nevermore, and Sanctuary fans, arise. Navain is here with their third album, and it's everything that you want in that dark power thrash sound. The songs are so catchy and filled with incredible riffs and excelled production. And everything from the Warrel Dane-esque falsettos that you especially hear in Sanctuary, to the deep growls, and everything in between in that ever so sweet Manticora style. This Sacramental band is showing everyone around them how it's done. And it's just one of those albums that if you dig the style, it will be impossible not to enjoy. I really can't sell it any better than that. Check out Queen of Phantoms and prepare to be blown away. Now we have Ufnos with Valediction. The sophomore album from this UK band perfectly nails the atmospheric black metal sound by adding just the right amounts of melody and harmony behind it all. The production is quite raw, but it fits the mold of what's going on with the music. The songwriting and the atmosphere of everything going on is truly where this hits. It can get so dark and haunting while feeling quite ethereal and at times otherworldly. It's not the happiest album around, and it gets quite dark musically and lyrically, but sometimes that's exactly what you need. This is utterly solid black metal done right, especially in the atmospheric world. I recommend this to any kind of black metal fan, even the elitists out there. Even those, I think, will find something to appreciate about this one. Now we have Sacrosanct with Kid Run. This is extremely amazing power thrash, and again, it's so great to see that in 2025. It keeps winning me over in the genre, and it's so great to have it back. This is the 5th album from this band, and it's the 3rd one since they reformed in 2017, and it also features a brand new lineup, but they never lose sight of what they've done in the past. This album just rules from start to finish, and it's filled with just the right amount of thrash over top of that awesome power metal sound. Imagine what Coroner and Solitude would sound like if they mix just enough European power metal and the occasional prog metal things just to keep things even more interesting. This feels quite familiar, but it has so many twists and turns at the same time. I truly enjoy what's going on here, and if you want a modern throwback to that early day power thrash sound, you really need to do yourself a favor and pick this one up. This is one of the best power thrash albums so far in 2025. Now we have Shireen with Black Halo. Featuring past and present members of Crimfall, Fear of Domination, and Everfrost, the sophomore album from this Finnish band feels like a brand new entity, but it feels all so familiar in the best ways. It's my first taste of what the band has been with their killer hooks, memorable songwriting, and emotionally driven vocal delivery. It's a formula that is sure to win over rockers, metalheads, goths, and everyone in between. This hits on so many levels. It never gets too heavy, never too poppy, never too rocky. It's just perfect in its formula. I could easily see these songs being on modern hard rock radio in the States if FM stations dared to actually take a chance and play some good music. I can only imagine how well these songs would go over in a live setting as well. This is incredible display of music, and I can't wait to see where they go from here, and especially with the lineup that they have, the sky's the limit. Now we have Stygian Path with The Lore Keeper. A genre that I don't see come up in my repertoire enough is epic metal, but thankfully the debut album from this Greek band fills that void. The songs hit just the right feel that you want in this style. The production is a bit raw, but it fits the mood, feeling like a grand mix of Candlemass, Primordial, and a little bit of Latter-day Rotting Christ, and yeah, mix in a little bit of doom and power metal, folk metal, and a little bit of black metal, all of that thrown in together. That is just a winning combination to me. And if you're looking for something that really, truly fits the mold of what epic metal could and should be, you need to give this one a proper listen. Prepare to be floored. And finally today we end with Van Dans with Everything That Won't Remain. This Austrian band's 3rd album is what modern metalcore should be. It just gets heavy enough. It has some really sick breakdowns, but it also has some great melodic moments that are easily the best part of the band. It does all of the tropes that modern metalcore does do, especially in the 2020s. It incorporates all of the more heavy hardcore styles and those breakdowns and screams that are tailor-made for the hardcore styles. I mean, if you like Harm's Way, I think you'll appreciate this. But those melodic moments, like I said, is what seals the deal for me. The mix of both sides coming together, taking elements on stuff that I'm not the biggest fan of, but it wins me over in its delivery and the overall aesthetic of it all. It is the future of metalcore, and I'm all here for it. This is incredible work from a band that just feels like they're about to explode across the world. I hope they're big in Europe, because if they were over here in America, they would be one of the biggest bands around. And there you go, folks, another 30 albums down. 210 albums that I've covered so far in 2025 alone. And we're not even done with March. We're only at the halfway point. I still got 2 more weeks of March to cover alone, let alone the rest of the year. So what do you think? Did I cover some good albums? Did I cover some bad albums? Anything that you're interested in? Anything that you're going to stay away from? Please let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And come back next week as we cover March 21st for Out Today and What I Missed. And until then, for Heavy Debriefings, this is Josh Runquist saying, embrace the skillet.